Hey guys, Roshan here from SaturdaySelects, and I would like to welcome you to Sync. Sync is a new podcast series under SaturdaySelects that looks to have a deeper conversation with key people in the creative industry, particularly music, both locally and around the world. The mission of this podcast is to dig into the minds of those behind the scenes and on the front lines of our industry and understand why they do what they do and what makes them tick. Having been involved in the Malaysian music scene for myself for the past 4 years, these people have been major inspirations to a lot of my fellow peers and myself included. But before we begin, I'd like to firstly thank the amazing people at 10 Points Up for jumping on board and collaborating with us and helping us bring this series to life. Collaboration is key, and we're going to be speaking more about how important it is in every episode. Our guest this week is a name that has been synonymous with the Malaysian hip-hop movement for almost a decade. A rapper, entrepreneur, and a music enthusiast, this guy has played pivotal roles in breaking new artists, providing platforms for the unheard, and booking underground rappers you thought you'd never see in KL. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Jin Hackman. All right, hey Jin, how's it going, man?
What's up, man? I'm good.
How are you?
Okay. I mean, like the daycare is closed, right? So I'm basically chasing the kid around every day.
At home?
At home, yeah. But today, there's a bit of, I get a bit of rest. Twice a week, we send him to his grandma's place. So,
okay.
Yeah. So,
thank you so much for coming on board the show.
And no worries, man. My pleasure, man.
You've made
I'm
the
honored
time.
to be on this. Yeah.
You are clearly one of the key inspirations and motivations to myself.
Likewise.
For us starting SaturdaySelects, seeing like what Raising the Bar has done over the past 10 years of being around. And
we're old.
old but still relevant, man. Like you guys are still posting stuff on Instagram. You've started the whole Spotify playlist thing, which is awesome. So I'm really happy to see
we try to
RTB coming up.
We try to keep up with people like you.
So we're gonna kick off the conversation we're about to have with a guy that probably brings back some memories for you. Mm-hmm. The name Alda Evan Thun definitely brings back those memories, especially in the early days of Raising the Bar when you started it with Pony and Mr. Dan.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the name Raising the Bar at the time, and what was the mission that you guys had by starting Raising the Bar in 2010?
Oh wow, I don't quite remember how I came up with the name, but I have a feeling it was a dumbfounded freestyle.
Oh shit.
I think he put out a freestyle, and I just checked this like before I came here. He put out a freestyle, and it was 9 years ago, so I guess it checks out, right? He put out a freestyle called Raise the Bar Freestyle, okay. And that's probably how I got the name, but I'm not so sure. Yeah.
Is that where the chant at every show came from? Raise the bar, raise the bar, raise the bar, raise
it. Oh no, we
how
just ran with the Raising the Bar
name. How did that come
about?
about?
After that, I think we just needed like some kind of catchphrase, in those moments where the crowd's kind of dying and they're quiet. So we're like, okay, how do we get them excited? How do we rile them up, right? So we're like, okay, let's just do, whenever we have nothing to say, just do this, raise the bar, raise it. Everyone does it, and then
it kind of just caught on from
there. And it just caught on. Yeah, I'm getting a bit annoyed by it at this point, but I'm like, it's too late to change it, or not. I don't know. But I guess the mission of Raising the Bar, when we started Raising the Bar, there was no, there was no conscious decision about making it a platform or anything like that. How it started was so Alda was heavily organizing gigs, in the scene, right? So mostly rock gigs, right? And I knew him because he lived really close to me in Damansara Perdana.
Okay.
So he hit me up one day and asked me if I wanted to put together something at this venue that he was managing, and this venue was Artista Bar.
Whoa, okay.
So this was Tropicana City Mall, right? So that was our first show, and it was meant to be a one-off, but the response was good. We had like 50 people coming out, but the energy was great, and we decided to have another one, and then another one, and then another one, and before you know it, it's 10 years. I remember vividly like the first Raising the Bar, it was we had Sona and Mal headline. We had Tagmatic.
Okay.
I think like mid-show there was like some commotion. There was a fight, like that almost broke out.
Standard hip hop stuff.
Yeah, and I think it was between. At that point there was a bit of tension between Caprice and Sona and Mal, right? So that was the peak of the beef. Now they're cool. Now they've matured, right?
Yeah.
So like everyone basically with the whole crowd like went outside to see what was happening, and Tag was supposed to get on stage, and he was on stage, and we're like trying to beg everyone to come back in. Hey, Tag is performing, but like it took like 20 minutes. Yeah.
Oh shit! But, my God.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. Yeah, that was the first show, and we were like, okay, let's do it. But prior to that, I had no experience like organizing gigs, shows. So it was just really trial and error like that first few years. Just like it became
seeing
like a learning process.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, you've been in the hip hop scene for 10 years with Raising the Bar, and even previously, I've seen like behind the scenes videos and footages from Cloth and Clef with Ego TV. I've seen those videos, and it's crazy to see that there was a local hip hop scene that stemmed as early as the late 90s.
Yeah, and that was our inspiration. Raising the Bar is really an extension of what was happening at Cloth and Clef, at Palette, right? So it was Bomb Shelter. Which also hosted a lot of hip hop gigs, but they were very underground. Like the hip hop boys would all come out, and then Think You Got Skills was more battle driven. Like freestyles, battle raps, beat making battles, and stuff like that. So I think what RTB did was like we took that format of Bomb Shelter, a bit of Think You Got Skills as well, because back in the day we used to do battles as well.
Okay.
But we made it a bit more accessible. We were like, okay, this is a hip hop gig, but like, how do we market it to people who don't necessarily look the part, right?
Yeah.
Like, because ideally you wanna, hit as many people as possible. So I think that was something that we were able to do, that Bomb Shelter didn't do. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned Bomb Shelter, Cloth and Clef, Artista as well. We can't brush off the fact that Ghetto Heaven was the mecca of hip hop.
Oh yeah, definitely.
At the time as a club night, and I think in the late 2000s, early 2010s, we had Chocolate High at Lust that really took it up a notch with the glitz and glam of hip hop. That was my first real experience with commercial, bigger hip hop music. I used to go see DJ Biggie play.
I remember emceeing a few nights.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think I was filling in for someone.
Okay.
So like I emceed for a few shows. I think it was Biggie, definitely Chocolate
Probably
High.
Biggie, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's where I first met Sona One and Joe Flizzo, and I'm like, yo, like all these hip hop guys.
Yo, Last was awesome. Like Last was one of our venues actually. We were running shows at Last for a while.
Okay. Wow.
So it was kind of fun. Yeah. So we had to, because of the type of venue it was, so we had to adjust to that. So it was a lot of shape shifting and just trying to make any venue work.
Okay. How important were these venues, club nights, and live shows to the hip hop ecosystem at the time?
I think it was so important. So I think it was really important because you had basically like two fronts, right? Like at the clubs, you have the DJs taking like the center stage, right? And then the MC, the rapper, would play like a supporting role. When it comes to live shows, especially the ones that we organize, it's the other way around. The DJ fills in the gaps and play that supporting role. So I think it's crucial for a healthy like hip hop ecosystem for both to run simultaneously, and therefore catering to different crowds as well. And oftentimes there are like you see crossovers definitely. Like the live show kids would come out to Lust, for example, to see a DJ spin, and vice versa. So that needed to happen.
And at the time, hip hop was still kind of underground, right?
I think it was.
It wasn't like the main sound. Like EDM was like the main sound, I would say, at the time, with like Zouk.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. there were you could count with on one hand like the number of hip hop nights, you know, in clubs, right, at the time. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. You mentioned that you had promoted parties at Lust before.
Oh yeah.
Right? And you did Cloth and Clef, Artista. I think being an event promoter is extremely difficult and stressful. And in my own experience, I've gone through like the ups and downs of being a promoter. But the payoff really comes at the end of the night.
Oh yeah.
When you see everyone just like, oh, that was the best night. People coming up to you and saying thank you for booking this guy because I never thought I would ever see him in KL. Do you have a couple of standout memories that has reassured you that being a promoter is something that you want to keep doing?
Just like you said, right? It's that end of the night and just seeing the faces of the crowd, just really appreciating the performances, and you know, and when you take a step back and you just look at the size of the crowd, and you know, like likewise the artists having fun on stage, giving like 200%. So I think that is the biggest payoff, because let's be honest, I mean it takes a while to really turn a profit, right? When you're running events, we lost shitload of money like on the first festival, but then we learned from it, right? And then by the second one we were like, okay, we know a bit more about what to do and what not to do. So we were able to not lose money and then make a little bit of profit. So I think it's just scaling, right?
Has there been any specific like one or two shows that have really like that specific show has assured you that you want to keep promoting parties, like even if it's like once a year?
I loved the two RTB Fests, 2013 and 2016, both in KLPAC.
KLPAC.
So that was super fun, man. That was so fun. And
2013 was the Teh Tarik Crew reunion.
That was the Teh Tarik Crew reunion. And for someone like me, for you know, for RTB to, and that was us being around for only I think about 3-4 years at that point, right? And for us to pull together a lineup like that, I think it was crazy. And you know, I mean, obviously shout out to all the performers because they were really on board, you know. And everyone made it happen. So that was crazy. And likewise, like 2016 one, we were a bit more ambitious. We had more backing in terms of funding and stuff like that, so we were able to book like a few international artists. So I think we had Occasion,
Heems as well.
Heems, Occasion was that was the height of that Ichima song, right? So it was perfect timing. It was definitely perfect timing. We booked Onra and he built something happened in Thailand.
I recall.
So we replaced Onra with, I think
was it Beat Bravo?
But it was good. It was good.
At first I was like, who's Beat Bravo? Then I'm like, okay, that's not bad.
Good. That was part of the RBMA initiative, right? And who else? Definitely regional artists. Headliners were Joe and Akim, so we position it as a Budak Baik versus Budak Jahat thing.
I remember.
So I mean we have fun putting lineups together. That's part of my that's really fun for me. So as you can see, like even though we had international acts at that point, our headliners were local acts. You know, we always prioritize or emphasize like local talent above anything else.
I mean, just segueing into the next question is, I've seen Karmal, Sona One, Ultimate, the whole Teh Tarik crew. I saw Tak, I saw Ego, Darren Ashley, everybody for the first time, like meeting them in person and watching them live at RTB Fest 2013. You know? And to me, I've never seen or been to a festival that had that amount of local artists in a single place. And I think that is something
it's a bit insane. Like if you look at the 2013 lineup, right? It's
was
a lot of
madness.
acts. I was like, you know, in hindsight, I was like, why did I book so many artists? Like, what the fuck was I thinking, you know? Definitely shot myself in the foot, but like the reward was definitely there, and
How did you go about deciding who was going to be on the lineup though?
I think at that point we were like, let's just book everyone we can,
Anyone who's available.
I think we were definitely, because the budget wasn't great, right?
Yeah.
I think we had like only one or two brands come in at the point, so we were definitely lowballing a lot of artists, but like everyone just wanted to see this happen.
Yeah.
Like when was the last time you saw like a full-fledged hip-hop festival? So
Exactly.
everyone was on the same page,
Okay.
So when we got to 2016, because the budget was better, therefore the artists got paid better fees.
Okay.
So that was the deal, and it's crazy. Yeah. 2013 was when Nash was playing with his shirt off.
Oh yeah.
So we had photos of that. It was like,
wow,
it was crazy. Yeah, because we had that stage that was dedicated to just DJs, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like a stage. It was like a tent, but that is always like the best place to be. Just the energy itself. And we never had to have like a stage manager for that, because DJs just have this communication between them, like unspoken thing, and they're like, okay, your last song, right? Okay, done. Like no issues at all. Yeah, but like with the other stages, we had like, we had Kat Jen like running the main stage, so there was a lot of headache.
Yeah,
so
I can
like
imagine.
The DJ stage was just autopilot. So it's amazing.
DJs doesn't know they think.
Yeah, it's like low maintenance. Yeah,
low maintenance. DJs are low maintenance, according to Jin Hackman at festivals. But you spoke about booking international artists in 2016, and you've booked a couple of international artists over the past 10 years at Raising the Bar. I'm going to name some artists, and you're going to tell me maybe a short story or experience that you had briefly with them. We're going to start off with probably one of my favorite like rappers that I never thought I'd see in KL. One half of Sweatshop Boys, Heems. How was that? And you booked him twice too.
I booked him twice because we just enjoyed hanging out with him, right? The first time was I think it was an RTBX Stussy thing.
Okay.
I don't remember how much we paid him. It wasn't a lot, but he was already touring Asia at the point.
Right.
So I was connecting with this guy. I think his name was Abe, out in Shanghai. So he reached out and asked me if I wanted to take in Heems for a show. And I'm not sure if at that point I was already familiar with Heems.
Okay.
But anyway, like after hearing about Heems, I probably did like research, and I found out about Dust Races, and I definitely became a fan. Yeah. Wow. Well, I think I already knew who Heems was, or at least Dust Races, right?
Yeah.
So to even get like 1/3 of the group, I was super excited. Yeah. So we made it happen, and then I think 2016 just so happened he came to Asia again, around the same time as the festival.
Yep.
And we're like, oh, this is perfect. And my wife was like pro Heems, and
pro Heems.
Yeah, and we brought him in again.
Okay.
And took him to Kampong Baru for lunch, and he had a great time at the festival. Like by the end of the night, I think
I remember seeing him backstage.
People had to carry him out or something.
And he performed with like a shawl on his face.
Yeah,
like,
he's so crazy. He was doing this one thing where he took the mic, right, and he went really close
to the mic, to the speakers,
right, just to cause feedback.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, for those that weren't familiar with Heems, that was super weird. Like, what is this guy doing? Why is RTB booking people like this? And then
RTB switching directions.
Yeah, and to everyone else, it's just like some inside joke, right? Yeah. But he's great. He's definitely like one of my favorite bookings so far.
That's so dope.
Yeah, nice. In terms of like being just being a chill ass guy.
Okay. Yeah. The next artist I have is Homeboy Sandman.
Homeboy Sandman was a bit of a rush. You took photos for the show.
Yeah, I remember.
It was a bit of rush. Yeah.
DP, right?
This
What's
happened.
the venue? Life Act.
Not Life Act.
No, not Life Act.
Play Space.
Play Space. So
this was Daman Sara Perdana, right?
Yeah.
And that happened on a very short notice. I think Stussy also supported that show.
Yeah, they did. I remember.
Yeah, that really made sense because I think there was already some kind of partnership between Homeboy Sandman and Stussy, globally, right? So we're like, okay, like because of this, we'll speak to Stussy and KL and see if they want to do something.
Okay.
So they came in. I think they foot maybe half of the bill, and we relied on ticket sales to cover the rest of the expenses, right?
Okay.
But even though we didn't get to really hang out with them, I think they were really tired, right? Homeboy and his
DJ
and then the DJ as well. So I think they looked like really, really exhausted. So they just wanted to be in the hotel. And the next day we just say like, hey, good show, man. Like, okay, ciao. And then we put them in a grab, and then they went to the airport. But the show itself was amazing. I think the start of the show when the DJ was facing some technical difficulties, right, with his turntables. Homeboy, like Sandman, he didn't stop. He didn't get off stage. He was already on stage, and what he did, I remember, was he started beating his chest.
Okay.
You know, and then he got everyone, the whole crowd, to do it, and then he rapped on that.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was like mind blowing, and you could see he's a true performer. He really knows how to rock a crowd. He's so comfortable, like on that stage, just working the crowd. So that was amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, he's like a really, really like hip hop MC guy. You know what I mean? It's not like he's not like a vibe kind of guy. He's like, hey, I gotta work my ass off to get this crowd to like me, kind of guy.
Yeah, especially I think there was about like 90 people in the crowd, 90, 100 people. And that was the first night I saw Pejal play.
Right.
Says Love Seat, and I was like, I remember coming up to you and I was like, that's my lecturer.
What?
I was like, what is my lecturer doing
so
DJ?
Awesome, because he has such an eclectic taste, right? So
Exactly.
we felt like he really fit the bill.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to book like, we didn't want to always book like obvious, you know,
hip hop DJs,
right? So we're like, okay, let's try something new with this one. And then, you know, with that, we were able to also tap into a much mature crowd, you know, with better understanding, or with who, like, people who actually know like the existence of Stone's Throw.
Yeah.
You know, so that was cool. Yeah.
Last but not least, Occasion. How was that?
Occasion was cool. He was really, really cool. He came with his manager. I forgot his name, but basically the manager runs the label called Highlight Records.
Okay.
So on Highlight Records, there are guys like Reddy, G2, and then of course I don't think Occasion is still on the label. But yeah, we managed to hang out, you know, have lunch, and he was a super chill guy too. He's really quiet. Yeah, he was really quiet. He was really quiet.
I would never think for him to be quiet.
He didn't speak much, you know. It's like if you talk to him, then he'll reply you know. But he wouldn't like initiate like conversations.
He's not a very social person.
Yeah, but that's him. But like he's really cool. Yeah, and the show was dope.
That was RTB Fest, right? 2016 as well.
Yeah. I remember he pulled up like
he jumped into the crowd as well. I remember trying to get the photo of that, like him in the crowd.
That was awesome. Yeah, and there were a lot of because of Occasion, we were able to bring out people that, you know, otherwise wouldn't have known about RTB, right? Like fans of just Korean hip hop. Yeah. And that's a lot. Yeah. That was exciting. Yeah.
Nice. Well, you mentioned Stone's Throw Records earlier, one of my favorite hip hop record labels as well. Peanut Butter Wolf has done an amazing job. But you organized a Dilla Appreciation Night back in 2014. And a really funny thing happened was someone came up to you and asked you what time Dilla was playing.
Yeah. And I think Ultimate was next to me. He was very close, so he was the first one to tweet about it, right? And then it just took off from there. I was like,
knowing Ultimate, he's definitely the person to like tweet about it.
But I like my response to it wasn't even like, yo, like Dilla's like, you know, like dead, you know. Like, he was like, I forgot what I said. I think like
stuck in
traffic. A bit. I think I said in a while, you know. I just played along, yeah.
But my question is, how important is it for the current generation of artists and music consumers to be aware of the history of the culture, especially in hip hop?
I think it's important to be aware and to be appreciative of what came before, but not be too obsessed about it, because you always want to move the needle and, you know, push things forward, right? You can't be like you can't just romanticize like the golden age of hip hop, you know, because it needs to for a culture or a genre to stay relevant, you gotta always innovate. You know, you always gotta try different things, right? So I think that is my that's definitely my take on it. And obviously, if you listen to more shit, I mean, I've always said, right, like even rappers, right, like those that come from a non-hip hop background usually make more interesting music. They just have a whole different take on like what hip hop or rap should be. You know?
Right,
yeah, like this kid Rudin, who's like I think previously he was like part of a punk band or something. So he came out and recently and just did like a whole like MGK kind of style kind of thing, and he can really sing. He can really sing, and definitely better than Bangfei. So, like, but yeah, like definitely, man. Like, yeah, just having all of that, right? I think it's important to really. I mean, everyone starts out as a fan, right? You know, so like you never stop discovering music, no matter how much of your own music you're making. You never stop discovering. Yeah, I saw your Spotify rap, and there was like 1,006 like new artists discovered. I was like, that's a lot. And I checked out mine. I was like, well, I'm only listening to local artists, and most of them are like my artists.
That's support though.
I didn't even post it. I was like, what?
But it's really awesome to see that you've built a platform that has not only educated the consumers and your fans about music that has come from the 90s and early 2000s, but also about upcoming music and new artists, from recent years. You've also built Raising the Bar to be a platform that truly highlights inclusivity. And I think that's something that kind of lacked in hip-hop in the 2000s. Yeah. Because nowadays we see a lot of female rappers coming out in the US and Europe. You have Doja Cat, you have Rico Nasty, and they're really blowing up now. But during that 2000s period, it was really rare to see female rappers, especially in the local Malaysian hip-hop scene.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
How did you come about at the time with the idea for Raising the Bra, which was a show that highlighted female artists?
Yeah, it was a controversial name.
Yeah, and what was the response to the show like?
If I'm not mistaken, we ran it twice.
Yeah, you did.
Over like 2 years. So the response obviously is great, right? You have like, it's a female fronted lineup, so obviously the boys would come out, but the girls would also come out to support their girls, right? So it's definitely a no-brainer. But I think Raising the Bra was a controversial name. I think
it's such a dope name.
Yeah, though. I thought so too. And some feminists like called us out and stuff like that. It was like, oh man, like we can't take it back. Like we've put out the poster.
The poster. You can't ask the graphic designer to edit it.
But that was around the time when we were introducing a lot of different themes when we did shows. Okay. And that was our workaround for when it came to booking local artists and making sure that we didn't run out of artists, right? Okay. So like, okay, with let's say we've booked 80% of the scene, right? Yeah. Like who's next? Like what if like we introduce different themes? So okay, you see the same guys come in, but like they're doing something else. So for example, like we had throwback to the 90s. That was when we would invite Joe, Sona, they would come and perform. But then instead of performing originals, it becomes like a karaoke night. So they choose like what songs they like from the 90s and they perform those songs. Nice. And most of the time they would come like dressed up and everything.
Wow.
I think Entah Sapu Sapu Entah was my favorite. They did like a Beastie Boys song. I don't remember what it was called. Intergalactic or something like that. But they came with the whole Beastie Boys get up. So they were super into it. I was like, wow, this is so fun. And we also did a lot of collaborations with different communities. Okay. For example, we had one night where I think it was called RTB Spoken Word, RTB Poetry Jam. Wow. So we're like, okay, we had guys like Aman Ra, Sayla come and do their thing, but no beats. So they have to compete with these guys, that are so used in this format of just saying words, these poets, right? Yeah. And it was definitely an eye-opening night because you could see like guys like Aman, who's always like 100%, so confident, and you can see him like shake a little bit, when you
Like,
put them
what do I
against
do?
like spoken word poets, right?
Yeah.
But it was so nice to see guys like that like just step out of their comfort zone and just doing something different. So that was what we did, introducing different themes every month to keep things exciting and not run out of acts to book. Yeah, and then Raising the Brow was one of them. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
so it was
okay.
cool.
You mentioned Sona a couple of times, and I think one of my first Raising the Bar shows was 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
And I was like at the back of the room, but I would see Sona on his computer, just like making beats. And then when it's his turn to like jump on stage, he would jump on stage, like rap or perform or freestyle.
Yeah, dude.
And then go back to his computer just make beats.
Now that you mention, he was like making beats at shows.
Yeah, no, like Sona was always working, and I was like, wow, this guy's work ethic
Crazy
is
stuff.
like.
Yeah, the grind never stops, right? Yeah. Now that you mention, I've never noticed it till you pointed it out. What?
How important, has Sona, Joe, Cartel in any way played a role in the development or success of Raising the Bar, especially in its early days?
Yeah, definitely. I think they lend some of their star power to RTB, right? Especially in the early years. And there was a few shows where Joe would just hit me up, and I think he was probably bored, and he was like, "Hey, let me do a set." Maybe there was a new song out. I think we right before the Havoc album came out, this was December, and he just came through and did a surprise performance and just performed most of the songs on the album for the first time. So it's just creating moments like that, which really is what RTB is about, just very specific moments that you just can't forget. And I think guys like Joe, Sona, for them to be at that level and having that amount of star power to actually, come to RTB and show love, right? And really connect with the fans as well. So it's crazy. RTB definitely bridged the gap between like artists and audiences. So yeah.
Okay, we see a lot of support from Joe and Sona towards RTB in its early days, and I think you picked some of that up as well, because you're one of the most supportive people of the freelance creative scene, for sure, in KL. Like, you've worked with we've worked together personally on a few projects. You've worked with Alicia Fires, who's an amazing graphic designer. You've worked with Atong and Amani on some music videos as well. How did you develop this philosophy, if philosophy is the right word? How did you develop this philosophy of highlighting independent creatives from the local KL scene?
I don't really think about it, right? It's just that I think it's just how I work and how I delegate tasks, right? I try not to give jobs to only people that I know or people that are in my immediate circle. So every time I need something done, it's based on that specific project. So I would pull people in with different strengths and with different capabilities for different projects. So I think that's vital in really just spreading the opportunities around. But yeah, it's never been a conscious decision. It's just like, hey, if I want something done, if I want to cover art design, like, who can do this? Like, maybe my last guy can't really execute this style, but like, this girl can do it, even though I've never worked with her, so I'm reaching out. Yeah, but with Amani, that was I think that was Luna Dira's contact. I think she shot the Stuck With You music video. That's how I got to know her as well. But a lot of the times it also came from the artist. The artist telling me like, hey, like, I really want to work with these guys and this guy. So like,
when I speak to them as well, like Alicia and Amani and Atong, you're one of the nicest people to work with, one of the easiest clients to work with, because you know exactly what you want. It's maybe in my experience, you know exactly what you want. It's not like, I don't know what I want, show me first, then I will decide. I need three options.
Thing, right?
How can clients be better clients?
This is a hard one. Clients really just need to trust creatives, right? They hire creatives for a reason, because they can't do it, right? You give a brief, but I think it's important to have some wiggle room, right? Because you need a lot of times you would want the input of the creatives as well. You know, you want them to add their own touch, personal touch to it, because otherwise, why you hire this person? Just get some run of the mill designer, or you know what I mean, like
some guy who can just do the job.
Right. So like I think it's really trusting the creatives and really trusting the process and just working together in achieving the best outcome possible. That's the only thing I can say. But you know, it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because like agencies, for example, would need to answer to clients, and you know, most of the time they're stuck in this really difficult spot as well. So I don't think it's easy. But I think like creatives, on the other hand, need to sometimes stand up for what they believe in. You know.
That's
and really
true.
try to push things through if they really
are passionate about the project.
Exactly, yeah. Like if you have a better idea than what's being proposed, like just suggest it. Like the most they can do is just tell you like, no, we're gonna stick to our idea. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a bit of like give and take.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times like creatives also they're scared. They don't want to rock the boat, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and I think it's about communication between the creatives and client.
Yeah, true.
Right.
100% communication. Yeah.
I remember when you approached me and you were like, Roshan, I have a photo shoot job for you, and it's for this new artist that I found on SoundCloud. His name is Alifs,
right?
But his name is now Faze. PHBZE. I remember us sneaking up to the rooftop at Empire Damansara.
Yeah. Oh shit! I kept thinking about the recent one that we did. It's not even that.
This is when he was Phased. I think this was like 2016, early 2016,
so
late 2015,
dumb,
and we snuck up Empire Damansara's rooftop and we were shooting with flash.
He was wearing glasses.
Yeah, and the security came after us and was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah, I think we only managed to get like some shots in, right?
Yeah, we got like a couple of shots, but the shots worked like with the bokeh in the background and stuff like that.
Wow, that's so dope.
Yeah.
I think this was before his first show was with
this is way before. I remember you sending me the SoundCloud link and I was like, wow, this guy is really good. And then you were like, yeah, and he's recording his vocals on his iPhone mic.
Oh my god, that brings back a lot of memories. That was around the time he got his first write-up, right? That was by Juice. And Juice was the first publication that specifically mentioned the earphone recording with the
recording on the earphones.
So that was brought up all the time in future interviews. Yeah, that we did. Everyone wanted to know, like, so what's going on? Like, how do you record this? Like,
stuff?
How does it sound so good? You know, like even though you're using that, so it's like he plays around. So he's always been good with like. He's always known what he wants to do with his vocals. That's pretty much it.
Super dope.
Yeah.
When you first sent me Alif's stuff and you asked me about the photo shoot, I think I was in Singapore at the time, and I was with now the group is called Island Boys.
Right.
At the time, like the Wavy still exists, but you know the whole group was just Wavy, and I was showing them, yo, Jin Hackman just sent me this artist Alif's. You guys should check it out. And then over the couple of years, I saw you started working with like artists like Fox, producers like Fox, and then you booked what's the name for Welcome to Heartbreak? Sam Rui. You started working with Sam Rui, and you started bridging that gap between Singapore and KL in a certain sense. Was that a conscious move from your end? What did you see in Singapore that what did you see could come from bridging the gap between Singapore and KL? Because Singapore had amazing artists like Mediocre Hacker Crew. Omar Kenobi is one of my favorite rappers from Singapore. And then you had the new artists that you were developing, Alif specifically. And then what came out from that was Bagel.
Which
was an awesome EP. What was the idea behind that?
I'm trying to recall how this happened, but I've always been prior to Bagel, prior to reaching out to Fox and even booking Samurai, right, which he produced for. I was a fan first of Fox. I think this was the time when he was just putting out beats,
like on Bandcamp for free.
I think there was I think there was one specific song that I really gravitated towards. It was called like Thanks Miss Panda.
Oh, Thanks Miss Panda.
It's just like a visual of a car or something like that.
Yeah, that was like a Suicide Ship, I think.
So I was like, whoa, what is this? And then and then I went to his SoundCloud. I was hearing all these Mad Lib sounding beats.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, shit, like I didn't know producers made beat tapes, in this part of the world, right? So that was so exciting for me because I think that was around the time also where I was following the development of a movement like low end theory and stuff like that, the beat scene, because I was introduced to that by like some friends that I was hanging around at the time, right? So I was like, shit, I didn't know, like people made this here.
Especially like I would say for Southeast Asian, Fox was pretty early on to the style of beat making, especially on the SPs. Like Madlib was using the mask at the time, and he was wearing the mask, and like it was just a crazy period of time.
I just reached out on Facebook.
Oh wow!
Like, hey,
okay.
Do you wanna? Here's a new artist. Probably the same way I pitched you the Alif's idea for the photo shoot.
Okay.
Here's a new artist. Here's his SoundCloud, and here's his first article. If you see potential in him, maybe we could work together in something, right? And then he replied immediately, and we started talking, back and forth, and before you know it, he came down by bus to KL.
I remember.
Wow, like I think I put him up at
DP.
In DP at my Airbnb place. I wasn't staying there.
And he was staying there for like 6 months, right?
Yeah, dude.
Before he had to balik kampung.
So like, wow, that's so crazy. And that was how it happened. That was really how it happened.
Wow.
Yeah, that was really how it happened. And that whole Bagel EP was just done within 2 weeks. In Kota Damansara, I was running a studio here. Like a hole in the wall, like studio, just like a mic interface. It wasn't properly treated. But they Fox made it work. Yeah, Fox really made it work. And within 2 weeks, and how the Bagel idea came out was I think it was the first session. The first session they came out with a song. They came out with a song called Tinder. We didn't put that on because maybe it was a bit cheesy. But after they recorded Tinder, right after the session, they went to this cafe called Molecules.
Okay,
and they had this bagel. And so they went back to the studio right after and recorded a song about the bagel.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that after that everything just trickled down, and then you have the EP, and it's really amazing watching Fox work. He just has a very different approach to just songwriting and production.
Wow. Okay. Well, over the last 5 years, like with artists like Airlifts, and now you're working with Lunadira, Leon Sapphire, Radio Rocket, you've been a pivotal aspect of their development.
I hope so.
I would say. I'm confidently. If I ask them, I'm pretty sure they would say the same thing.
Thank you.
But you've been more than an A&R to these guys. Like you're like a dad to them. In some sense, like you go grocery shopping with Alif.
Oh, you saw that, yeah.
And stuff like that. What is your approach towards, managing these artists, and what is the goal by being a lot more closer to them than your typical or regular A&R from like Sony or Warner?
Right. Wait, what's the question again? Like how? What was the question? Sorry, I spaced out.
It's okay. What's your approach towards these artists?
Okay.
And what is the goal, in you being closer to them than your typical A&R?
Ultimately is working with the artists to help them achieve their vision, right? Because one of the first things that we do when at least for me, when we're on the verge of signing an artist is or right after signing, we would sit down with them and then plan out like 3 years or at least the next year, like what do you want to do, because different artists have different pathways that they want to take. Not everyone wants to win, let's say, a Grammy. Some people do it as just like a self-satisfying thing. Some people do it because, hey, this is the only thing I have, and like I gotta make sure
it works.
This happens because I have no backup plan, because it's different for every artist. So it's just having that in mind and approaching each artist differently. And obviously working with the people, different artists have different personalities, so obviously, it's a trial and error thing, right?
Figuring out what they like,
exactly.
What they don't like, how they work.
I think the first few shows I was like, Alifs, why are you showing up to shows an hour before? Like, why are you so early? I've never had this problem, and then there's some artists where you would have to make sure, you have to call to make sure they're on time, right? It's a lot of that, and it's really communication and just building that relationship lah. I mean, I haven't had as much time as before now that I have the kid, but like now I have a
now
team
being a real dad
to help me out, right? But it's a lot of that. It goes beyond just music. It's just checking in on them whenever I can. Just seeing how they're doing, because they're people, they're humans first and foremost before they're artists, right? Definitely. It's just providing everything I can for them so that they don't have to worry about petty shit and can therefore focus on just being creative.
So how has the last 9 months been for you through this pandemic? What have you been up to? How have you been dealing with it?
It's been a little tough. I mean, obviously there are no shows with the label, at least this way of records. Like the primary source of revenue has always been shows,
same for us at
festivals,
SaturdaySelects,
so that really put things in perspective, because we have been relying on this source of income, this stream of income so heavily. So what happens when something just takes it away, so we're like, okay, so now we're gonna focus on building every artist's social media presence, just working on the growth of the streams, just making sure there are other avenues income to make revenue, not just solely focusing on shows and just hoping shows will forever come, right? Because you never know. We just want to be prepared for the next time a pandemic happens. We want to make sure the next time there's something like COVID, we're ready. We're like, okay, we don't need shows. We have streaming. Our streaming numbers look good. We can strike a partnership deal with the brand and make sure everything's covered for an artist at least for the next 6 months. It's approaching it in a very different way.
So you're focusing right now on the digital aspect of your artist, like the social media presence, like you said, the streaming numbers.
Streaming could be if you work at it could eventually be passive income, right?
Definitely.
Because it keeps coming. Pandemic or no pandemic, people are streaming songs.
Then you just collect your MECP at the end of the year.
Publishing,
But you're mentioning about streaming numbers, what are your thoughts on Spotify introducing this new, or you can take a cut of your streams and we will put you into certain playlists? I don't know if you saw that. Artists can opt now to take lesser amounts of money for their streams.
Is this on Spotify? Spotify provides this?
Now they're providing this. They announced it, I think, a week or 2 weeks back.
I had no ideas,
Okay, so just off the top of your head, hearing this for the first time, would you, if you were in the artist position, would you take a cut just to get onto these playlists? And it's about, I think, 50% cut or 75% cut?
That's a lot. A lot. I would definitely question. I'm definitely interested, but I would definitely have a lot of questions, right? What are the playlists?
Fair enough.
And what if you don't land playlists? Do you still have to give up that cut? Because obviously, I think what Spotify is trying to do is they're trying to run those playlist services out of business, because there are existing playlist services, right? Where you pay an upfront sum, and then based on that, and then they'll pitch for Spotify playlists or Apple Music playlists, but there's always no guarantee whether you're gonna hit the major playlist, and a lot of times I think there have been complaints that artists would have their songs ending up on unknown playlists with bots, You know,
unknown playlist bots.
Yeah, we're like bots, you know, like you see the streaming numbers, but they don't look like legit.
Oh, right.
So I think that's a way for Spotify to pick that up, right? And that messes with the whole algorithm when you start paying for streams or for playlists. But I'm sure there are some that are legit, but it's just that the ones that I've come across so far are not. But definitely, I think this is Spotify. You know, Spotify's
trying to
way
make
of
more money,
coming out and saying like, hey, you don't need those guys. Like, give us, you know,
give us the money
cut of your income, and we'll do it for you because we're Spotify. Like literally, we're modern age radio. We control what people are listening to right now, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah. We decide who you listen to next. Each person listen to next. Yeah.
So, ending on that note, who should Malaysians be listening to next?
Oh, wow.
Malaysian artists.
Damir is a really good one. I mean, he's not Malaysian, right?
Yeah, he's not, but he's based in Malaysia.
So
we'll take him for now.
And he just got that deal with Majestic Cactus.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big move. Oh my God, there's so many right now. Clumsy Gang just released.
Oh yeah, the new EP.
Their EP, their album.
Right?
More than 5 songs. Then you have guys like I love Glaze Bagat.
Oh
yeah, and you're familiar with Glaze.
Yeah.
I mean, I call him Teresh.
Teresh.
Glaze. And I mean, on my end, soon we're also distributing EPs from Orang Melayu.
Nice.
And it's Orang Melayu's first full Malay EP, and it's sounding really good. And Kaiden is also a really new kid from Kuching, right? There's a lot right now, like even, you know, in the hip hop scene itself, like, wow, so many to choose from.
Yeah,
there's
just like
so
the few that have
from.
like really caught your attention the past like 9 months.
Yeah, there's this guy Ini or something. I don't even know how to pronounce it, from Kuching, right? He raps on like boom bap beats, but like he has like a very Earl Sweatshirt
kind of vibe,
style to rapping. So he has a really great voice as well. So
I feel like K-Click really just bridged the gap between East Malaysia and West Malaysia that I never even knew that there was a gap in the first
100%.
place.
Like they really opened the doors, right? For everyone.
Now we see a bunch of rappers coming out from like Kuching, KK, like, and it's really like awesome to see this happening.
I'm not sure if I'm right, but like I felt like the mindset before, the mindset with a lot of East Malaysian creatives, or at least artists lah, like, or at least the ones that I've spoken to so far, right? Or before, they're always telling me they don't feel like they're good enough, and you know, they always look at like the KL scene as like the
place to be to
bar,
make it work,
the benchmark. Like, you know, I'm not good enough. Like, you know, I can't hold my own against, you know, these guys from KL, which is obviously not the case. It's obviously not the case. These guys are like super talented.
KL's like our New York.
Exactly.
In
and it's just something in the water,
sense.
right? Like with Sarawak and Sabah, it's just
it's just that. But before we end the conversation, I would like to get your input on what can we, as fans of Raising the Bar and music enthusiasts, do to contribute to the ecosystem of artists local artists that exist in Malaysia.
I mean, if you're a fan, obviously keep streaming songs on your preferred platforms. Keep buying merch, you know. But I know it's tough, right? It's COVID. Like you can't even figure out how to pay rent. You know, the last thing you're gonna think about is buying an artist's merch. You know, but if you have if you're in the position to do it, I think you should definitely do it. Go out to shows, support the artists however you can.
Watch their live streams.
Exactly, and watch your live streams. You know, because a lot of artists are trying to make this happen, are trying to make this like music a real thing, and you know, they're trying to eventually live off music. You know, like maybe half of them are doing it for fun, you know, as hobbies, but there are some that are doing it.
This is their life.
Because you know, they want to really make this happen, and they only want to do music, right? So it's their job in a way. Like, how do you? I think it's just really supporting artists however you can, you know, at every stage of their career. I mean, especially if they're first starting out, and they need that help, because an artist is nothing without a tribe, without a community, without a fan base. I always say that. And likewise, as artists, you gotta really, find and develop your fan base, and nurture that fan base, right? Because that's really the only way that's really the only way to go. And I guess I don't know if this answers your question, but I tweeted something like a few months ago where I said, hey, not everyone has to be an artist, right? Not everyone has to be on
I saw
stage,
that.
right? So if I'm not saying stop making music, but you can contribute to the scene in many other ways, like if you're a graphic designer designing a cover art for your favorite artist, you're already contributing. You're as important, you're playing as important of a role as an artist on stage performing, 100%. If you're making videos or even coloring videos, you're doing your part already to make sure
for
that's
the
growth
system.
for the scene. It's like that. Like the scene can't make it if everyone just wants to be artists. Then we're fucking gonna die. Like nobody. It's like the running joke last time where everyone wanted to be a DJ. And, there were no doctors, and I was like, oh shit.
Doctors becoming DJs.
Like find your strength and like play to it, right? I think that's key.
All right.
More managers.
More managers.
More managers that know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. So you recently launched a new brand. Called Tong Tong Asia. What can we expect from Jin Hackman and Tong Tong Asia going into 2021 and beyond?
Tong Tong Asia is kind of like my new baby, but not really, because it's an extension of This Way Out Records, right? So This Way Out Records is put on pause for now as we move into a more artist management role. And now, like with Tong Tong Asia, we're a bit more client facing. We provide services beyond just artist management. We do consultation, we do publishing, we do marketing and PR for, let's say you have a release. So we have taken on some projects, some clients where we work with them on like a 3-month basis, and like, hey, you have a release coming out, we'll be there for you every step of the way. We are your managers for those 3 months, and after that, like, you're on your own until you need us again. So that's our approach now, right? Since COVID happened, we're like, okay, this label thing, maybe it's not really working out. So we're like, okay, let's focus on what we're good at, and what we're good at has always been this artist management thing, and really managing, like different types of artists as well, in different spaces within the scene. So I feel like that's something that a major label staff can't necessarily do, because they're so wrapped in working and breaking mass market artists. So this is where we come in. So I think since even with This Way Out Records, there were a lot of urban English artists that would reach out to us and just ask for help, because they see us doing this thing that not a lot of other labels are doing.
Well, if you're a budding artist, rising artist, a producer, and you're listening in, if you need help, holler at Jin. Reach out to Tong Tong Asia. You reach out to me, I'm going to put you in touch with Jin. But Jin, before we end, Spotify beat you to it. Can we expect a wrap up this year?
Oh no, man.
A 2020 wrap up.
I think I'm done with that.
You're done?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I want to do it this year, but like, there's so many things that happened this year.
We're expecting like a wrap up as long as Run This.
Yeah, probably longer. Probably probably maybe like 20 minutes each.
20 minutes.
Yeah. Wow. Oh wow! Like this year, it would have been nice if there was one this year, right? But
just like a live streamed wrap up. 20 like half an hour live stream wrap up.
Shit, I don't think I can. My head is just someplace else right now. But I do hope like someone takes on
the mantle. Who would you want to? Personally,
this guy that works for me now, he writes for RTB, iManiac, so like he's probably a good fit for it.
Shit. Okay, that's dope. Jin, thank you so much for coming by and having this conversation with us. We really appreciate you. You're a big inspiration and motivation to us. Like I said, if you ever need help,
Sure.
if there's ever any projects for us to work together on, likewise, I'm coming to you. Thank you
100%.
again, man.
Yeah.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much for having
Thanks.
me.